Hey Giants and Yankees fans, welcome back to Giants Latest. Let's go ahead and get into some updates for this week. The Giants take on the Saints on Sunday in New Orleans, and obviously they are missing Malik Neighbors. And from what I have seen, they have not brought anyone in for a workout. So based on that and Dable's commentary, I don't think the Giants are going to do anything at the wide receiver position, at least not this week. Now, let's talk through that for a second because so many fans are like, let's make a trade, bring in Olave, do this, do that. This is a 1-3 football team. And look, at the end of the day, the people in the front office are fighting for jobs and they have to do whatever it takes to win. But it's pretty unlikely that we are making the playoffs, and we are not in a position to go ahead and trade away assets for a wide receiver. There are a few on the practice squad. If they want, they can pick up someone from another team's practice squad. And the biggest name that I'm hearing among the Giants fan base is Isaiah Hodgins, because he knows the system. He was very helpful to the Giants in 2022 and 2023. And he came from Buffalo, so obviously has that experience with them. And he's on another team's practice squad, so they could pick him up. Now, the only reason why I think they might not do that is because they have other guys on the practice squad. So they have Amir Smith-Marset and they have Daquan Felton, who are both available to the Giants. Now, with that being said, I want to talk through the rest of the wide receiver room because Dable said, too, that this is going to be an opportunity for some of the other guys. He mentioned Gunnar Olszewski, getting him involved in the offense. He also talked about Hyatt. He talked about Wandale and Slayton and Bo Collins, how they're all going to have an opportunity now to make a lot more plays. Now, the weeks in target share were very different for Malik Neighbors. Obviously, he's the one who should have the most amount of targets, but as we all saw against the Chiefs, he barely had any until the fourth quarter. So I think that obviously they're going to do their best to spread out the wide receiver targets, but I think you're looking at guys like Wan'Dale Robinson, who's going to be very heavily involved this week. I think Darius Slayton is, of course, going to get all those deep ball throws that Malik Neighbors would have gotten. And I think that Bo Collins is going to get the most amount of reps at that third wide receiver spot. I think we will see a bit of Hyatt like we did last week. Maybe this week he'll get some targets. I don't know. Last week he didn't get any, so we'll have to see about that. But I am just prepared that we are running it out there Sunday with the same guys, and there's a chance that maybe they'll elevate Amir Smith-Marset from the practice squad. Maybe they will elevate Daquan Felton. Smith-Marset probably has a better chance of making the roster, I think, because he has special teams experience. And, you know, they were running Singletary and Tay Banks back there as the returners. So maybe they're going to do that again this week. I don't know. Maybe they will bring up someone like Smith-Marset so they have the option to use him on special teams too. So it's going to be interesting, but I feel pretty certain that they are not adding any other wide receivers to this team. So, you know, this week, I don't know, maybe they think that they can go in there and beat the Saints without another wide receiver. And while I think that they probably can, it also will not surprise me if they go into New Orleans and lose, because it's the Giants that we're talking about here. So they obviously had issues against the Chargers, the same issues that they've been having week after week, year after year. So, you know, I don't expect all of those things to get fixed just because they are playing a below average Saints team. So again, we'll see how it goes, but I think it's most likely that it could be a good week for you if you have Wan'Dale Robinson or Darius Slayton on your fantasy team. Now, I have Wan'Dale Robinson. He's been on my bench for the last couple weeks. I picked him up after week 2, but I do think that I might think about starting him this week because I think he's going to get a lot of targets. I also think that something we have to talk about is the fact that last week they were running a very simple offense for Jackson Dart and his first game out there. I think this week they're going to take it a little bit of a step further. I don't think that means we're going to see anything crazy, different, creative, you know, wildly challenging or different than what we've seen over the last week. But in my opinion, that means that we're going to see more of someone like Wan'Dale Robinson because I think we're going to see more middle of the field passing throws. Or passing plays, excuse me. So, like, I think that means the tight ends are going to get involved, but we know that they absolutely love Wan'Dale Robinson, and they especially love him on third down. So keep your eyes peeled for him. He, I think, out of everyone, is probably going to have the biggest increase in target share out of all the wide receivers. And then I think Darius Slayton is going to be next at number 2, and he will be getting a good portion of those as well. But, you know, they don't really ever put Slayton in a slant or in the slot position and say, take it and run. So I think we're still going to see Wandale there, but we'll see Slayton maybe get some shorter passing yards instead of a deep throw every other time. So we'll see. I want to move over to the defense because I know that everyone has been very hard on Shane Bowen, which he very much deserves. Do not get me wrong. But I also think that on the flip side of that, we need to praise people when they do things right? We need to give credit where credit is due. And I said this about Dable, I think, yesterday. So Shane Bowen decided, maybe I'm going to listen to people, that Abdul Carter is better on the edge. I want to read these snap counts to you guys. Abdul Carter in week 1 played 21 snaps at the edge. In week 2, he played 37. In week 3, he played 9. And then he went all the way up to 41 against the Chargers, which was obviously the most that he's done so far, but he was also the most productive that he's been so far. He was number 2 behind Aiden Hutchinson in total pressure leads. He had 9. Aiden Hutchinson had 10. On top of that, he also, let me pull up this stat for you guys, because I know we all know that he had an incredible game with a lot of pressures and quarterback hits, but he had in 4 games now, he's had 7 quarterback hits and 11 pressures. But in this one game, he had 5 quarterback hits and 3 pressures. So that is obviously the spot for him. Now, having Darius Muasau back, I think really helped with that decision for Shane Bowen. Now that Muasau is back again for another week, I really, really want to see Bowen continue with that trend. Give Abdul Carter more snaps at the edge. That is where he belongs. That is where he's good. And that is where he's going to make the biggest impact for this team and for this defense. That's where you need to put him. You have to put these players in a position to succeed. And that's what they have to do with Abdul Carter. So I hope that after reviewing the film and looking at the stats and seeing the numbers and everything, that they're going to say, this is where Abdul Carter belongs and this is where we're going to continue to put him. So I'm hoping that we see that again in week 5 against the Saints. Now, with that being said, I want to talk about where the Saints are, in regards to other teams on the offensive and defensive side of the ball. So let's start with the defense here because I have that pulled up. So this was prior to the Bills game on Sunday, because this has not been updated yet, the total defensive rankings. But prior to that, the Saints were ranked number 15 overall, that they had allowed 10 touchdowns and an average of 313 yards per game. From a passing defense perspective, they are, I believe they're a bit worse, so allowing 7 passing touchdowns and 210 yards on average. And then their run defense is number 14. 2 rushing touchdowns, averaging 103 yards per game. Now, they gave up 31 points to the Bills. So all of these numbers, they're going to move further down in the charts after knowing how that game went. But I think the Giants' game plan here attacking this defense is they have to start passing the ball more, which, again, is going to lead me back to what I said more. Wan'Dale Robinson is getting more targets this week, especially with Neighbors out. And knowing that they have given up 10 passing touchdowns again. That was in 3 weeks before the Bills game. So I really want the Giants to lean on the fact that even though they don't have Malik Neighbors, they have other wide receivers that they can rely on to make plays, and they have a quarterback who's not going to be afraid to throw the ball. So I really want to see them do that this week from an offensive perspective. And maybe they're going to have a great deep ball option for Darius Slayton. Maybe we're going to see that. Who knows? Maybe we'll even see Jalen Hyatt. But this is a good week for them to test Jackson Dart and say, we're going to add a little bit more to your plate from a passing perspective, because not only do we think you're capable, but you're going against a defense who's been giving up a lot in the passing game. So let's try and take advantage of that. So I really want to see that. I am sure that they're also going to continue on with giving Cam Scatterbo a ton of reps, which he deserves. And I'm sure that there's going to be more RPOs and there's going to be quarterback runs and things like that. But I really want to see them increase the passing game this week. That is the number one thing that I would like to see them do, outside of, obviously not sucking in the red zone. So would like to see them do that. Let's go ahead and move on to how our defense should be attacking the Saints offense, because the Saints as a whole are coming in at, of course, this isn't numbered, but they are in the bottom half of the league in giving up total yards from the, hold on a second. I think I got that wrong, because now I'm looking at their offense. Okay, so they're only 2 spots behind the Giants with a little over 1,200 yards. 300 yards per game is their average. Now, when it comes to their offensive passing, they have over 700 yards. I really don't like how this is set up. So, sorry, that's what's taking me a little minute to read through this. And then they're averaging 177 yards passing per game. Now, I think with our defensive front and a young quarterback like Spencer Rattler, who former Gamecock, rooting for him, just not this week, I think they're going to be able to terrorize him a little bit. Between our edge rushers, I don't think they are going to have anywhere close to a chance that they have had over the last couple weeks of being able to get over 200 yards passing. They're only averaging 177 yards. And we know this from last week. You're not winning games in that type of scenario. And even worse when it comes to rushing, they are averaging 124 yards. So this is going to be a really big opportunity for the Giants, for the run defense to step up and say, you know, we've struggled here and there. We've given up some big plays. This is not the week to give up big plays, okay? Last week on Marion Hampton, fine. This week against the Saints, nah. This is not a good offense. It's not a good team as a whole. Not good play calling. Not a whole lot of talent over there. They've got a young quarterback who's, you know, struggling a little bit like the rest of the team. So go out there and shut down the run. If there's a week to do it, it's this week. Shut it down. I want to see them do that, and I want to see them pressure the quarterback. Those are the two things that the Giants do. Not only should they be able to hold the Saints to, under 14 points, I would think, they should absolutely destroy them in this game. Like, it will be malpractice if they go in there and let the Saints run all over them, put up a lot of points, and then lose this game. So I want to see everyone take a big step forward this week. They are very much capable of doing it. Those are the areas that they need to improve on to beat the Saints. The first injury report comes out later this afternoon, so we are going to discuss injuries and more tomorrow. So subscribe for more.